Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, fellow dregs to society. Welcome to all of you who Joe Biden says live under a rock. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And joining me today as my co-host is the patriot from the battle-born state, the Silver State of Nevada, and that's my good friend Sharon Angle.
Thank you, Rick. It's always a pleasure. You know, it seems like the show just gets better and better, and we just keep gearing up for more and more. You know, we thought we were out of the woods when President Trump was elected, but no, we've got a lot of good programs that we can do just on what's going on right now.
Yeah, a lot of great guests also, Sharon. And truth be known, you know, this is our 10th year in broadcasting the Conservative Commandos. It only started out to be my little 1 hour week hobby where I was going to get on the radio and rant and rage and things like that. And it certainly has become more than that. It's certainly become better than that, not because of me, but because of people like you, my co-host, George Landers, Rick Manning, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and all the co-hosts we've had in the past, but especially our guests. You know, we've always had terrific guests here on Conservative Commandos. And why did I start saying this? Well, because you were mentioning the show getting better and better. And also, you know, we thought that possibly with President Trump now, I actually started to think once President Trump was elected, well, maybe I should just retire from this. Maybe I should just go on to spending my afternoons sleeping in my favorite easy chair, watching a movie with my kitty cat curled up next to me. But wow, it just never ends. It just never ends, Sharon. The president needs us. He needs the conservative media as a counter to the mainstream liberal media, and also their cohorts within the Democrat Party. And Sharon, our first guest of the day is with us, and the honor of that introduction is yours.
Well, it is an honor and a privilege to introduce my friend Ken Blackwell, who is an American Civil Rights Union Senior Fellow. He is a contributing editor for the conservative news and opinion site townhall.com, and his columns frequently appear in the Washington Times, Wall Street Journal, and USA Today. Ken Blackwell's public service includes terms as mayor of Cincinnati, undersecretary of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and U.S. ambassador to the United Nations Human Rights Commission. In 1994, he became the first African American to hold statewide office in Ohio when he was elected treasurer of state. And he subsequently was elected to 2 terms as Secretary of State in Ohio. Ambassador Ken Blackwell, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Hey, Sharon, it's good to be with you, and also with you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thanks. We wanted to talk to you about an article that you wrote, What the Episode at the Lincoln Memorial Teaches Us About Media Standards. And I want you to give a little overview of what happened at the Lincoln Memorial and how stunning that whole story was.
Well, in short, there was a group of students from Covington Catholic right across the river from me. A school that was attended by Bill Cunningham, the radio star of the greater Cincinnati area, and a fellow Xavier University graduate, one of my classmates. And they were in Washington, and they were there for the March for Life rally. And they were waiting for a bus for their departure when they were approached by a group of activists, in the main led by Nathan Phillips, a Native American, who began to pound a drum in their faces and sort of stare them down And these young people, students, high school students, the most noted was Nick Salmon, sort of stood there and politely stared back, did not get into any verbal confrontation with Mr. Salmon. And the students, as a matter of fact, took a lot of harangue from some of the folks who were there to intimidate them. And what was fascinating and distressful to me was that the mainstream media portrayed this as these young students being disrespectful and laid the blame for the entire event at their feet. They in fact were singled out and defined as troublemakers because they were wearing "Make America Great Again" red hats that they had just picked up on their visit to Washington, D.C. And as you all know, this was a theme that was used by Bill Clinton and Ronald Reagan, and no one seemed to have a problem with the assertive and affirmative "Make America Great Again." But because this has become a theme of President Trump, these red hats were being defined as the equivalent to Ku Klux Klan hoods. And this was just stupid. And the mainstream media ran with this false narrative and really did harangue these young people. And so it was a common theme that those of us who are adults and who are activists are familiar with from the left. It was distort, define, and destroy with false narratives. And my concern in my article was that they had not just the bullets in the gun, but the gun in this case was the mainstream media.
Well, and as you said, because of that, and they were falsely accused, really, because of that false accusation, they received death threats and just hate.
Hate notes, smears. Again, that it was the distortion and false narratives. And the in this case, this was being the bullets were being shot through the gun of the mainstream media, and the perpetrators were aiming dead at the heart of these young students.
Well, and you point out in your article that much of the problem stems from what seems to be a dangerous belief among journalists that it's better to be first than accurate. So that it doesn't matter just so long as you get there first, right?
Yeah, right. That's the new mode of operation for the day's mainstream media, and again, as opposed to we report, you decide, with there being reporting standards, journalistic standards that shields the public from slanted presentation of the facts. What we saw was the rampant use of journalistic advocacy or advocacy journalism, where a narrative was more important than the facts. And in this case, it was a false narrative, a narrative made up out of whole cloth. But what's important here is that we understand why these children were targeted. They were targeted, one, because they were at a pro-life rally. Mm-hmm. They were targeted because they were wearing "Make America Great Again" hats. Mm-hmm.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, our guest is Ambassador Ken Blackwell. Ambassador Blackwell, we have to take a quick break. Could you hold on for just a few moments for us, please?
Sure can.
And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. We'll be right back with Ambassador Blackwell. We're talking about the episode at the Lincoln Memorial, teaches us about media standards. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together. We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty
Health Share. This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle. Yes, that's Sharon Angle. And yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of our shows, please check out our websites. The radio version can be found at CCRShow.com. That's CCRShow.com. Our television version can be seen at conservativecommandosradioshow.com. Our guest this segment is Ambassador Ken Blackwell. He is an American Civil Rights Union Senior Fellow. Ambassador, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
It's good to be with you both.
And we're discussing the episode at the Lincoln Memorial where students from the Covington Catholic High School were confronted by a gentleman banging a drum in your face. And, Ambassador, looking at this video, I think these students were being very respectful of this man. I mean, they stood there. They didn't threaten him in any way. They didn't holler at him in any way. And I think that is goes to show the integrity of the students themselves. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, and we have to go deeper in the context. What we saw before Phillips, these and the drum beating, these kids were being harangued by left-wing radicals, calling them names, yelling racist, remarks, and verbal shots at them. They showed not only great restraint, but maturity beyond their years.
And Ambassador, these are kids. These are high school kids, and we've seen an incident recently in Chicago where an actor who is an African American, he's also gay, claims to have been harassed and threatened by two people. So far, the police haven't been able to find these people or anything, but here again with these two stories, we're seeing a double standard, where the conservative,
absolutely,
where the conservative, these conservative boys are being threatened with death threats, media smears, and vitriolic hate on one side, but this other story involving a young man is, it seems like now today he is a hero for what he went through. And where's the difference between what happened in Chicago and what happened in Washington, D.C.? I just don't get it.
What happened in Washington, D.C. were that these children were served up as ripe targets because of the hat that they were wearing and this total dislike for President Trump and those who support his policies or support the thrust of his administration. Look, the initial story in the Washington Post quoted Mr. Phillips at length, but did not include a comment from the students. In their rush to run a story that could hurt President Trump, they abandoned basic journalistic standards. And I think that's what we have to hammer on. These folks are supposed to be bringing, us facts. And we are intelligent people. We can judge the facts. But when you only use facts that fit a particular narrative, you are shortchanging your listeners, your readers, your viewers. And I think that there should be tremendous pushback, on this abandonment of journalistic standards. If in fact you want to be part of the left-wing radical harangue of President Trump, then put on that jersey. Right. Be man and woman enough to put on that jersey. Don't hide behind the pretense that there is some sort of journalistic standards that that make you a professional journalist presenting the facts.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, we are speaking with Ambassador Ken Blackwell, who is also former mayor of Cincinnati, Ohio. He was also the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations Human Rights Commission. And, sir, I'd like to also kind of connect this story with another story that's been in the news, and that's about Democrat Virginia Governor Ralph Northam. In that he's out there defending himself. A picture on his yearbook page that was during his medical school yearbook page featuring two individuals, one in blackface and one in a KKK outfit. First, could you tell me how you were viewing this as being seen and reported on by the media?
Well, initially, I was engaged in the governor's onslaught against babies. He had initially come out articulating a defense of taking the lives of babies, well past the 20 weeks mark, and so I was engaged. And so then when I heard this story about his medical school yearbook, being that I'm a pretty fair guy, I wanted to hear what he had to say. And I wanted to go back and explore a little bit more of his record. And again, I was ready to give him the benefit of the doubt. And in my digging, what I found was a clip from a debate that he had with Bishop E.W. Jackson when they both were running and competing for office. And at the end of a very robust debate, Bishop Jackson extended his hand to shake his opponent's. For a handshake, and the now governor, then candidate, pushed his. Didn't acknowledge, would not shake his hand. So while it was just ironic, I think the left found itself in a position where even though this guy was a leading advocate of their desire and their agenda to take the lives of babies, they in fact had to cut and let him hang of his own body weight because it destroyed their attack on Republicans. But it's been almost hilarious. I mean, it has been hilarious to me to watch the left and Democrats in particular on the left have to acknowledge that it was Republicans who in fact were mainly responsible for the 1965 Civil Rights Act against the opposition. It was Senator Byrd who was a self-avowed member of the Ku Klux Klan, and I think he was in the leadership. And so all of a sudden, they had this reminder that the purity that they try to lay claim to is non-existent. And just like the false narrative against those kids, the false narrative that Republicans and conservatives are in fact racist, by definition, has been blown out of the water.
Ambassador Blackwell, as you say, you are a fair guy. You wanted to hear the facts before you made any judgments. But I have to ask you this. You as an African American, how offended are you, or how are you offended by this picture that was on his yearbook page? A picture of a man in blackface, another beside him, a picture of somebody in a Ku Klux Klan robe. Are we being a little bit too sensitive about these things, Ambassador? But what was your feeling in looking at this picture?
Well, my feeling was that in 1985, if that had appeared on my page, I would have been offended. I would have, in fact, laid it out as being as being something that I was not associated with, and so given the fact that this is a guy who has sanctioned the taking of lives of babies, most of whom in his state are African American or Black American babies, I in fact now find that it's hard for me to believe that he made any effort or is really remorseful of the fact that he was sort of outed in this case.
In fact, he's doubled down on this. He has admitted to wearing blackface to imitate Michael Jackson. So I could see this.
Yeah, what was so funny about that to me is that Michael Jackson was easy. Was funny. Michael Jackson was getting his nose redone and bleaching his skin to go the other way.
Yeah.
So it was. At the end of the day, this went against the narrative of the left and the radical left to play identity and racial politics, and that's why they've had to come out of it so strong. What I want to do is to make sure that we don't lose our focus,
right,
in terms of this governor and the movement in Virginia by the radical left to take the lives of innocent babies.
Ambassador Ken Blackwell, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on Conservative Commandos. Please tell our audience how they can follow your work and read your writings.
Well, you can go on Facebook and go to the Ken Blackwell. I have a public page, and you can follow me there. Or you can go to frc.org and follow me there, or read my columns at Town Hall, The Christian Post, or cnsnews.com.
Ambassador Ken Blackwell, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
God bless you both.
And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together. Together. We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty
Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is George Landreth. And George, we do have our next guest with us. Please make him feel welcome.
Absolutely. We've got Dr. Robert Cohen. Now, just to make sure everyone knows who he is, obviously doctor tells you that he either has a PhD or he's a medical doctor. He's a medical doctor. He is an Army veteran. He's a physician. He's a scientist. He's also a world traveler. And one of his interests is poverty reduction. And he is also the creator and host of a very interesting podcast, Demo Crises. Now, during medical school, he hooked onto a presidential campaign as a volunteer of a man that he wanted to help get elected to the presidency in 2008, the late Senator John McCain, and then he was hired as a full-time campaign staffer, which I think meant he was probably a pretty good volunteer. But anyway, in the Army, he was deployed in both Iraq and Kuwait, and he was part of a preventive medicine detachment there, and he worked to confront chemical weapons and the threats posed there in the Middle East. And of course, he's also worked on exotic tropical diseases in Africa. I understand he's a little under the weather, so I'm hoping it's nothing exotic. But bottom line, Dr. Cohen, welcome to the Conservative Commandos.
Yeah, I know it's not measles because I got my vaccine, but I sure am under the weather. Thanks. Thank you.
Well, we're glad to have you with us. Speaking of measles, there's an outbreak in Washington State. I understand in neighboring Oregon as well. So I thought there's some concern about going nationwide. Let's talk a little bit what that means, because for most Americans, the measles is just this vaccination you get, and it might leave a little mark on you. But it's, I don't know that we have this great fear of it, because at least in my lifetime, I've never really known anybody who suffered from it, really, because it was thought to be a disease we destroyed and kind of moved past. But we see it making a comeback. So let's talk about why that is and what the issues are.
Well, the good news is the comeback is small. I mean, we still have over 90% of vaccination in most states, but the thing is you need over 95% in order to eliminate measles. And in Washington State, they're at 91% because of lots of people who are afraid of vaccines because of some misinformation on the internet. So we have about 50 cases, and we'd like there to be zero because we absolutely could eliminate it. It'd be great for our healthcare system, and it would save taxpayer money if we would eliminate it. What I would point out is measles is a really severe illness. I mean, 1 in 1,000 kids with measles will die. You'll have severe blindness and brain inflammation. Now, the other 999 will just have a bad fever and rash, and they'll be okay. But it would be really great if we could eliminate it. And what we need is to have sufficient vaccination. And unfortunately, a lot of doctors, they just kind of scold parents to tell them to vaccinate. They never explain how we know that the misinformation on the internet is wrong. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to tell everybody about the studies, how we know that the measles vaccine does not cause any adverse effects such as autism. And in fact, we do know where autism comes from. Interesting.
Yeah, I've heard the story, that there's something in the vaccine that causes autism. And it strikes me as, when I first heard that, it struck me as not very plausible, because we've been doing vaccines for a while now. They're not brand new. This isn't like last year's technology. Before I could even enter this public schools as a kid, I had to have certain vaccinations, and this is back in the early 60s. Yep. So we actually have, a lot of data. So let's talk what that data might suggest.
Yeah, so this whole theory came from a very excellent con man who, based on 12 patients that he was later proved to have sort of falsified, published that there might have been a link. And so the medical community actually took it seriously, whether there was a link between autism and vaccines. And so in order to test that, they looked at, it's the Denmark study. Everybody needs to know about the Denmark study. They looked at every single kid born in Denmark from 1991 to 1998, 537,000 kids. And what they did is vaccination there was optional, and they had almost perfect medical records. So we could compare whether the risk of autism was higher in the vaccinated group or not. What they actually found is that autism rates were actually 8% lower in the vaccinated group compared to so the unvaccinated had a slightly higher risk of autism, but it was not statistically significant, which is what the real case is, which is that the two are not related. And so that's how we, and then there were other similar studies that followed that. That's how we know that there is no link. And doctors will see signs of autism occurring in the first year of life sometimes, which is before anybody gets their first MMR vaccine. And so we know it's not from the vaccines, but we also there's been some 20 years of digging into figuring out why autism rates are going up, and we actually have that data too, which I'd love to share.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that. Why is that? Because that's usually what I've heard. I've heard obviously there's more autism now than there was in 1850, and I'm not sure that when they say obviously that's true. Because sometimes I think to myself, we're better at diagnosing things. Like I was a kid who had some problems reading as a first grader because I had some dyslexia, and they didn't ever diagnose it. I was just stupid.
Well, no, you weren't stupid, and actually dyslexia is the most common learning disability, and a lot of doctors made the mistake, or a lot of teachers made the mistake of making.
Well, I know, but in 1960, in the 1960s, the attitude was, "Oh, George just isn't very bright." Now, I went on to go to law school, and I graduated magna cum laude and things like that. So I'm comfortable that I'm not stupid. But in first grade, I remember feeling stupid, and I remember being treated like I was stupid. And I don't know there's more kids with dyslexia today than there was in 1960. I just think we're better at diagnosing it and figuring out what it is. But you tell us, what's going on with autism?
So that's a great point. So with autism, absolutely. It's actually been looked at whether or not rates are going up because of so-called detection bias, where we're diagnosing it more, or whether there's a real rise. The answer is there is a real rise. Now, that data I don't have off the top of my head, but I could certainly get it for you. But the place the real rise is probably coming from is the rise of obesity in our society. So using the similar methods to the Denmark study, looking at thousands of kids and testing statistically based on their medical records, was the mom obese during pregnancy? Did the mom have diabetes? Was she exposed to certain prescription drugs? One study came out last year, and one study came out in 2012 showing a link between these two things. And it makes sense, because when the child's womb is developing, being obese is not a healthy condition. There's going to be inflammation in the uterus, which could lead to some brain misdevelopment. And in susceptible kids, not every kid with a mom who's unhealthy is going to get, and they have to be genetically predisposed, just like cancer. Not all smokers get cancer. You have to have the genetic predisposition and then smoke in order to get lung cancer. Similarly, we're pretty much honing in on being basically the mom being less healthy during pregnancy, which is a good reason for us to get away from the vaccine debate and move to actually figure out how do we solve this other problem, because that's a growing public health crisis.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. Now, as I understand it, the importance of the vaccine, not only does it help you personally when you've been vaccinated, but it essentially helps a second time around in terms of, I guess what is it called? The herd, the benefit to the herd, so to speak. Not that we're a herd, but you know what I mean. But the idea.
We are. School kids are herds. Let me tell you.
Fair enough. That's a good point. Yeah, if you've ever been in a school cafeteria, it's hard to argue. But bottom line is explain to us how that works, because you gave us the figure of if you're over 95%, it really keeps the thing, like polio. I've heard polio is making a little bit of a comeback as well, a disease that's horrible, and yet it's a travesty for the people who get it. But then on top of that, when you drop down below the 95%, it's not just the problem of people aren't vaccinated. In general, the disease starts to make this comeback, and it's just not a good place.
So every virus has a different level of contagiousness. The average person with measles will infect 15 other people, because when they sneeze, the virus will remain suspended in the air for several hours. That's so-called an airborne illness. Compare that to the flu. The average person with the flu will only infect 4 people, because that's a droplet illness. You have to touch a surface on which a droplet-containing flu is existing. Or Ebola, where you basically have to have blood spat into your mouth in order to get it. The average person with Ebola will only infect 2 other people. So because you could do the math, it's a fun math project if anyone wants to do it. It's called the reproductive number. Every virus has a different reproductive number, R sub 0. And if you do the math, because every person with measles will infect 15 other people, you need to have at least 1 over 15% of the population vaccinated, which is about 92, 93%. And we're saying 95% to go down to the lowest limit on the estimates of reproductive number. But because if you're surrounded by 15 people and only 14 are vaccinated, that 15th one's going to get it, and then they're going to keep spreading it. Whereas if you vaccinated all 15 people and there's only some guy over in the other corner of the school, he's less likely to be exposed to the infected person.
Very good. Well, we're up against the break, Robert. Or Dr. Cohen. So we're gonna. Sometimes the clock just rules us, and this is that case. But I do we'll be back after the break, so we'll continue this conversation. But I want to remind our listeners that you're listening to the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth with Rick Trader, and of course we are coming to you on the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, which is broadcast all across this great nation from one coast to the other, with your traditional broadcast towers. And then, of course, now also on the AUN TV network in California and soon in Nevada. And if that's not enough, because we are everywhere, as Rick likes to say, we are, of course, around the entire world on Al Gore's amazing internet, with the possible exception of communist China and North Korea, maybe Iran and maybe Cuba. But everywhere else, we are there. So don't go away. We will be back with Dr. Cohen right after these messages.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for healthcare.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together. Together. We're changing the way you pay for healthcare.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landreth, President and CEO of Frontiers of Freedom, and yours truly, Rick Drader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, please check out our website. You can hear our radio show by going to ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. Our TV show can be seen at conservativecommandosradioshow.com. Our guest this segment is Dr. Robert Cohen. He's an Army veteran, physician, scientist, poverty reduction expert, and creator and host of Democracy's podcast. Dr. Cohen, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time. Dr. Cohen, I can very well remember being about 7 or 8 years old and having measles, going through complete hell, being sick. I mean, really sick, the sickest I can ever remember being at that time. And now they're telling me I could also be affected by shingles.
Yep.
Oh, no, that's chickenpox, which I had too. But, you know, when you talk about could you talk a little bit about the long-lasting effects of things like measles or chickenpox or anything years later that can affect you as an adult?
So we live in a sea of viruses. There are thousands and thousands of viruses that infect humans, and then others that infect all sorts of other animals and even plants and bacteria. And as far as measles goes, so measles, you're right. It's a really severe disease. It was the second biggest decimator of Native Americans after smallpox. We're so lucky to have eliminated smallpox. Polio used to paralyze thousands of children in the United States every year, and it didn't discriminate. It got the president, as everybody knows. And it's really wonderful that we've eliminated it. Now, in your case, so shingles is not fun. Anybody over the age of 60 should get a shingles vaccine. Shingles is just a remanifestation of chickenpox. Now, measles doesn't usually remanifest. Once you've gotten measles or once you've gotten the vaccine, you should be protected for the rest of your life. That's why it's such a great vaccine. By the way, I have no financial interest in this. I have no idea even what company makes the measles vaccine. But what I do know is that vaccines are one of the few interventions in the world that actually save money to our healthcare system. They actually save more money in averted disease than they cost to actually implement. The average amount of money spent, every dollar spent on vaccine will save between $3 and $10 to our economy. And if you're a taxpayer, or you just don't want to get disease, you don't want your kids to get disease, vaccines are a great way. But I'm out trying to pound the Denmark study because often we just scold parents, tell them to get vaccinated, and there's so much misinformation out there, especially on the internet. And so we need to find a way to you can't just scold people and say, well, just get vaccinated and stop being an idiot, right? You have to say, okay, well, here's how we know that vaccines and autism are not related. Discuss it with your pediatrician who's got 11 years of training, and it's their job. They have a fiduciary responsibility to your child to do what's best for them. And so, yeah.
Dr. Cohen, one of the things I talk a lot about here on Conservative Commandos radio show is illegal immigration. And we've heard that there are a lot of diseases and sick people coming into our country in the camps down near the border. There's a lot of illness and disease. And can we tie things like this measles epidemic also in Los Angeles County? There is a typhus epidemic that's going on in these homeless camps. Am I thinking too far outside the box, as I say, when I try to link the reemergence of diseases like typhus and measles to sick people coming over our border without being checked?
You know, I think that has not been proven. So an outbreak has to start somewhere. It could start from somebody who came across illegally, or it could start from someone who came across legally from a country where measles is a broader prevalence, or it could just be slowly brewing in Washington State because of all of the low vaccination rates there. Typhus is definitely a thing. Typhus lives in fleas, and so probably there's a lot of homeless and a lot of garbage in Los Angeles. I'm from San Diego originally. Los Angeles is so severely overpopulated. It's so dirty as a city. It's really quite a tragedy. I mean, I just was reading about this today. There's a lot of piles of garbage and rats and fleas. And what we have to do is have a more sanitary society in general. I think San Diego has a hepatitis A outbreak, which is also among the homeless. So can we necessarily tie it to the problem of illegal immigration, which is a problem? I don't know if we can do that. I would certainly be careful without clear evidence before I did that.
All right. Doctor, how can people protect themselves from things like Ebola and measles?
So the first answer is get informed, and don't get informed from just whatever you find on the internet. Make sure it's from a reputable medical journal. You can download the Denmark study, as I've talked about. Vaccination is a wonderful way to protect yourself. We've all been vaccinated against measles, I think, and that's a wonderful thing. Polio, same thing. So vaccinate yourself, vaccinate your children, and then if you're around, I have a bad cold right now. I really wish that whoever I went out to dinner with on Friday hadn't been so sick. So hand washing is one of the most cost-effective interventions in the world. I don't want people to go crazy and become germaphobes, but avoiding sick people is a great way to stay productive. Ebola is probably coming from all the environmental destruction that's happening in the developing country. Those societies are overpopulating, and they're really wiping out all the animals in the forest. And as they come closer and closer into contact with chimpanzees, baboons, and bats, that's where Ebola is coming from. So that's a huge problem to tackle, because that would involve food and cultural issues.
Right. Doctor, used to be like, and I guess I learned this thanks to The Godfather 2, that a lot of the immigrants coming from Europe in the early 1900s went to Ellis Island. When they got to Ellis Island, they went through physicals, and if they were like Vito Corleone, he was put in a hospital, put in quarantine. Some other people were sent back to Europe. They were so sick. I've heard stories of ships where there was an epidemic on a ship. The ship was not allowed to unload. That went back. And what I'm getting at is government doing enough to protect us?
Wow. Is government doing enough? First thing I'll say is it's a really hard problem. You got billions of people on Earth all swimming in viruses, getting on, how many flights are there per day? Tens of millions of flights. You got the illegal immigration problem with millions of people that are not necessarily documented. I want to give I work with a lot of public health officials, and they work really hard, and they are often unsung heroes. For example, in the Ebola outbreak, right? Ebola landed in Dallas. This guy landed in Dallas, went to the hospital. The hospital didn't immediately recognize it. He infected 3 nurses, but then actually America's healthcare system quickly sprang into action, and he unfortunately passed away because he was too far along in the disease. But the other 3 nurses all went to the intensive care unit, and they all survived. And now actually they have antibodies in their blood and potentially can be used for treatments if they want. And so government, I would say the government is trying. Certainly there's always more we can do. I think we could get out in front of the prevention problem. There's a discussion over whether or not we should compel children in Washington State to get the vaccines, or they can't use public schools. Public schools are a public good, taxpayer funded, but often the healthcare system is taxpayer funded. And if parents are going to allow their kids to get sick and then use taxpayer dollars, those are big policy questions. But I want to give the public health community, of which I'm a part, so I'm biased. I want to give them some credit, because they do work really hard, and this is not an easy issue. And the good news is, Ebola is contained right now in the Congo. Measles is only 50 cases in Washington State. But boy, we could really use some help from the public. Especially, I appreciate your guys' show, because we're getting the word out. We're having this discussion. Public opinion is so important in educating the public.
Doctor, we only have about a minute left, and there's 2 very important things I want to get into. One is I want you to tell us a little bit about your podcast, Demo Crises. But first, you mentioned flights, you mentioned things to protect yourselves, like washing hands. Well, I see a lot of people on flights these days with masks on, and also, what about hand sanitizers? That seems to be gaining in popularity.
Yeah, I support. I support both. I mean, masks are a little over the top. Now, I'll tell you this: when swine flu happened in 2009, I wore a mask on an airplane so I encourage everyone to get their flu vaccine. That's another vaccine. There's a lot of misinformation around it. The only one year I didn't get my flu vaccine because I was too busy. I got the flu, and I never made that mistake again. It was miserable. So. Vaccines help prevent disease, so that I would definitely encourage that. Hand sanitizer, yes, that does help. So just avoiding people that really look sick, like me today. You should only talk to them through Skype, basically. And then, yeah, I'd love to tell you about my podcast. Basically, trends like this. There's a lot of things that look scary in the world today, and there's so much misinformation on the internet. So our podcast is called Demo Crises: Democracy, Demography, and Demoralization. We call those the 3 global demo crises, where democracies really don't seem to be living up to what they need to do. And we look at evidence instead of misinformation. We look for historical and other evidence examples for how we can solve these crises. And our favorite episode, all the challenges in modern America were even worse during Teddy Roosevelt's time, and Teddy Roosevelt defeated almost all of them. That's our favorite episode. He had to deal with rising economic inequality due to massive technological change, vicious partisan hatred. There was violent outbreaks between labor and capital that were tearing the country apart, and he solved this problem. And so we really look at how he did that, and that's just one of the 13 episodes that are available in the first season for download on any podcast app.
All right. Dr. Robert Cohen, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on Conservative Commandos. One more time, give a shout out for your podcast and how people can follow your work, read what you may be writing, and also to check out your podcast. One more time, give us a shout.
The podcast is Demo Crises. You can go to democrises.com or any podcast app. And then you guys, you said you think you're not on TV in Iran, but I heard the Ayatollah is a big fan of Rick Trader. So so anyway.
All right. Dr. Robert Cohen, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Thank you.
And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landreth, President and CEO of Frontiers of Freedom. And I'm Rick Trader.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving, and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The secret war is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together. Together. We're changing the way you pay for healthcare.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
The AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. Buyyourtimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Hi, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos. I'm Rick Manning with George Landreth. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show or for more information, please check out our websites, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com. Also, please like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just look for the Conservative Commandos. You know, today I've got as a guest Carlo Didasi, and Carla is an interesting person. I first met her where she was on the other side interviewing me, actually, on a radio station up in Philadelphia. But more importantly, Carla is one of the true unsung heroes of the pro-life movement. And since we've spent so much time today talking about what's happened in Virginia, I wanted to have Carla on, not just to talk about Virginia, which everybody kind of knows about, but to talk about what the broader implications are and some of her experiences, and quite honestly, what's being done around the country and what you can help do if this is an issue that's concerned to you. And so Carla is a person who's founded an organization, and that organization is what, Carla?
Call1972.com. It's actually the first Fashion for Life apparel brand, and we also have the Call 1972 Foundation, which is the charitable arm. We're just trying to teach our kids, and actually all of America, that life is always in style.
Very good. That's and so it's a unique way of going about this. Ironically, after the State of the Union address, the president came out very, very clearly and saying, just almost astonished that this could be even thought of killing a baby on the table. I mean, that was the shocker that I think really woke up a lot of people about what's going on in the real world, and it's been hidden from us. Carla, what kind of inspired you to get involved in this? Is this new, or is it something that you've been involved with for a while?
So back in 1990, I was in college, and there was a girl on the floor that had found herself pregnant, and certainly it was less than ideal situation for her. And I was shocked and horrified that I was the only one that was telling her that she was strong enough to have this baby, that adoption was a really great option. And the other, 15 girls on the floor were saying that abortion was the only option for her. And I guess I might have grown up in a very supported little world. My grandmothers, my mothers were very strong women, but they were always very pro-life, as were the men, because men are a part of this as well. So I had my first rally on my college campus back in 1990 something. And from there, I just always was very abreast of all the issues, what was happening with policy, not only in the state of Pennsylvania, where I'm from, but across all 50 states. And I knew that if we did not stand up and understand biology, that this is a life from the moment of conception, and we did not understand that this person inside of the mother's womb has the right to life, and it's been given that inalienable right by God, not the government. And President Trump also said in his final words when he was talking about protecting infants inside of the womb, he did indeed say that each one of us is made in the image of God. That's why we want to protect these children. Again, this right to life comes from God, not from our government. When we think that it comes from the government, this is a very, very slippery slope, and we find ourselves selling babies' body parts, like we were doing a couple of years ago for $75 a pop. We also find ourselves doing infanticide, like they are now doing in the state of New York. And by the way, it's not just abortionists that can do abortions in the state of New York. It's also midwives, nurse practitioners, and physician's assistants, because they are claiming that in the rural areas where there's a high demand for abortions, that these people are going to be able to do abortions and infanticide. Let me tell you that here in the state of Pennsylvania, back in 2012, Gosnell, I will not call him a doctor, because doctors do not equal abortionists. I believe that people that perform abortions should actually have their licenses taken away. They should not be performing any kind of medicine at all. So Dr. I will not call him a doctor, Gosnell here in the state of Pennsylvania, is now serving 2 life sentences because he killed 2 women that he performed a late-term abortion on. There were complications, and they also found in his freezers, as well as outside in the trash cans, babies that were 38 weeks, 36 weeks, and 40 weeks. I've been pregnant 5 times. I did lose 2 children at about 10 to 12 weeks. I did hear their heartbeat inside of me at 10, 11 weeks. And when I went back in for my 12-week or 14-week visit, there wasn't a heartbeat anymore. So that was devastating to our family. But I do have 3 very healthy children. The reason that I explain that to you is because make no mistake that it is a life, a person inside of you when you are pregnant, and that child does have the right to life. And we have to change the language again, right? We're not going to have a baby. We have a baby from the moment of conception. We are not going to be a mom. We are a mom from the moment of conception. And we cannot leave the dads out either. If you find yourself in less than an ideal situation, and perhaps you're not married and you don't have the money to have a child, you are already a father. And I just want to tell all of you that you are strong enough to choose life every single solitary time. I've made a lot of hard decisions in my life. Hard decisions are the right decisions most often. And so sometimes choosing life is a very hard decision, but it's still the right decision. And we know that death breeds death. because that's what we see here in the country. 60 million people have not had the right to life since 1973. They've been denied that by our Supreme Court. We live in a culture of death in the United States of America right now. Blood money is being used to buy Porsches, Lamborghinis. Again, you can go to David Daleidon's Medical Center of Progress and watch all of his undercover videos. You can watch what the abortionists are saying about the money that they're using to buy big vacation houses. This is blood money. So again, I'd like my kids to grow up in a culture of life, and I think that we need to get back to that. Life breeds life.
And so the fashion that you've come up with to try to kind of popularize and take a different look at this and make it okay to be pro-life. It's what the website where people can get that at. Where is that again?
So it is Cole1972.com. Cole stands for Culture of Life 1972. We want to get back to a culture of life in the year 1972 before we legalized abortion in this country. No one ever imagined that there would be 60 million people that did not have the right to life since 1973. So yes, all of our messaging is very fun, very sweet. We're saying that life is always in style. It's quiet messaging. We want kids and people, which has happened all the time already. We were down at the March for Life. I was at Students for Life speaking. We want people to say, what does Cole mean? I love your hat. And then this gives kids the opportunity to say, oh, it's a culture of life. We hope to get back to that. Oh, what does that mean? 60 million babies have not had the right to life since 1972. And I'm telling you, it's just opening up the door for conversation. And we know that the left is doing this with our kids, right? I don't even want to share some of the fashion lines and some of the organizations that are glamorizing death and glamorizing abortion to as young as 5-year-olds. They're equating abortion to going to see the dentist and having your wisdom teeth taken out. Let me tell you that that's a poisonous lie. It's not going to end well. It doesn't end well for people. It doesn't end well for our communities or for our societies. And I recommend that people go to Cole1972.com. Also go to Cole1972 Foundation, which is right there. 10% of all of our purchases go right back to Celebration of Life organizations. I recommend that you read my kids' books. Julia Learns How to Vote Wisely. This is what really embarked me on kind of this mommy activist hat that I've been wearing the last 5 years. That teaches kids to vote for a pro-life candidate. Again, I want to get the kids at 5, 6, 7 years old. The left understands this. I don't think the right understands this.
Well, I think what you're talking about is really not just beating people over the head with facts, but instead kind of becoming part of their life and giving them a broader way of dealing with it. We'll be right back with Carla. We are the Conservative Commandos, and if you're listening to the Conservative Commandos, I'm Rick Manning. He's George Landreth, or somewhere she's actually Carla DiDossi. And we're coming from the Conservative Commando Radio Network, broadcast all across this great nation on stations in Florida, California, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Colorado, Wisconsin, and Georgia, and carried around the whole entire world on Al Gore's amazing internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together. Together. We're changing the way you pay for healthcare.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
The AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. Buyyourtimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos. I'm Rick Manning with George Landreth. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, or for more information, check out our websites, CCRSnetwork.com and CCRShow.com. And please like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just look for the Conservative Commandos. You know, I'm here with Carla Dadasi, and she's leading the charge on really a revolutionary approach to trying to educate people about abortion and creating a culture of life in this country to counter the culture of death that's been so prevalent since Roe v. Wade. So, Carla, you know, I want to talk a little bit about the national implications of Virginia. We saw the horror that's stretched across the nation as people realized the governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam, was describing essentially killing a baby, an infant. He describes the baby as an infant, not as a clump of cells, not as a fetus, an infant on the delivery room table, and then they're going to keep it comfortable, and then they're going to say, let's have a discussion about whether to kill it. And oh, by the way, it's okay because we're only going to really do this with kids who are disabled because somehow they're less than. Just the most horrific thing that we've ever, I think I've seen, at least an admission of what really is going on. So, Carla, you know, what's happening across the country, and first of all, and secondly, I'd like to talk a little bit about what do you think the national implications are of the president pointing this out in the State of the Union speech?
So make no mistake that since 1973, the feminists and people that are pro-abortion have wanted our government to legalize abortion to 40 weeks, and I would even say beyond. You've had Hillary Clinton say that, you know, a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old really are still dependent on the mother, and that's annoying. So, you know, do they really have the right to life? Their life might be a little less important. And, you know, people cringe when I say that, but I'm telling you, if we do not stop this infanticide, they are going to continue their agenda with who deserves to live and who deserves to die. This is Nazi-esque. We already see this happening in Iceland, right? In Iceland, there's no more Down syndrome. They have obliterated those children. And I have done many an interview with families that have beautiful children who happen to have Down syndrome, and their lives are priceless, treasured, and amazing. And when you start choosing that kids with Down syndrome should have less of a life than someone else, should we be aborting all of the people that are sitting on murder row, like people that have committed murders, or people who are depressed or anxious? Like, where does it stop? Again, the left with their abortion agenda is very Nazi-esque. So when people say to me, did you ever think that this was going to happen, 21st century, we're doing infanticide? I say to them, yes. Yes, I did think that this was going to happen. And I actually think if we do not stop this here, the implications are we are going to be choosing that a 6-month-old really doesn't have the right to life. We're going to see terrible things like this happening. We already saw in the state of New York that a woman was murdered. She had life inside of her, and they said, "Well, it's not a double count murder. It's just a murder for the mom." So, what are the implications of that? The implications are that across the country, if there's a mother who's pregnant and that husband or that grandparent or the man in her life loses a woman, he's also losing the baby, but whoever did that terrible two murderous act, is only going to serve one murder, not the murder of the child inside of the mother. So there's a lot of implications for this. Ultimately, women are the ones that are being harmed the most. Gosnell's clinic, there were 2 women that died in late-term abortions. We're going to see women, and it's interesting because the left is always claiming that they're championing for women's rights when I feel like they're constantly harming women. So I loved what President Trump said, that he supports life from the moment of conception. He is the most pro-life president that we have seen to date. He has streamed in live to the March for Life 2 years in a row. We have Pence and Karen Pence there. They understand that protecting life from the moment of conception is really important. This leads to euthanasia. We know that Margaret Sanger was a eugenicist. We know that she dated Ku Klux Klan members. We know that she was also the founder of Planned Parenthood. Let me tell you, Planned Parenthood has not veered very far from their original intentions with Margaret Sanger. They set up shop in every underprivileged Black neighborhood, 2 to 1. That is where they're setting up shop. And to date, the most dangerous place for a Black child is inside of the mother's womb. So you have abortionists that are making tons of money, millions of dollars, off of telling our Black women, our Black children, that it's just a blob of cells inside of them. And let me tell you also that there's an organization called Save the Storks that puts an ultrasound bus outside of as many Planned Parenthoods as they can, because we know for a fact that when moms go in and they see the baby at 10 weeks, 11 weeks, 12 weeks, they do not choose to walk up those steps of Planned Parenthood. This is why Planned Parenthood refuses to put ultrasounds in all of their clinics, because they know that women will choose life after they see their baby and hear the baby's heartbeat. So again, I just want you to understand that the left, Cuomo, the governor of Virginia, are lying to the American people because they want to make money. Planned Parenthood gives millions of dollars to these people to push their agenda of death.
In Virginia, in fact, they gave $2 million to Ralph Northam's campaign supporting his election. So, and the lieutenant governor of Virginia is in fact was a board member of the DC Metropolitan Area Planned Parenthood. So we see that they've kind of infested the entire system, and yet we give over $500 million of federal taxpayer dollars to Planned Parenthood every single year, and somehow we've been unable to stop that. Because here's the key, folks. You know what the Democrats are willing to do? They're willing to shut down the government in order to make sure Planned Parenthood gets their money. As a result, they hold the Republicans and say, we'll shut it down, and the Republicans don't want to be held responsible on it. That's how come Planned Parenthood keeps getting their money, until the Republicans say, we're shutting the government down because we're not going to pay for the culture of death any longer, and force the Democrats to choose. Until that occurs, your taxpayer dollars will continue to go for Planned Parenthood. Carla, we've only got about 2-3 minutes left here. Talk to a little bit about some of the things that are happening in the states, in Iowa, South Dakota, and elsewhere that are promising, not just the negatives in New York and Virginia.
Let's do it. So I want to talk to our Life Tribe directly. Make no mistake, we're winning, and I want to leave you with hope. State of Texas just defunded Planned Parenthood, and we hope that sweeps across all 49 states. Don't forget that we have Gorsuch and we have Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court, and potentially another one that we can get that understands that life starts at the moment of conception. And then I was at the March for Life. There were over 600,000 marchers. 75% of them were young kids. They are rejecting the lie and the culture of death. And again, I encourage all of you to go to cole1972.com. Look at our stuff, share it with friends. Cole1972 official on all social media. When you go to our sites, you're going to see that it is all happy, joyful, victorious, because that is what life is. Life is beautiful. Life is glamorous. And we should all be talking about it and encouraging life. Every moment is a gift. Every breath is a gift, from the moment of conception until life's final breath. That we're creating a life posse, a life community, and we welcome you to join us.
Great. And let me point out something. We've got on the culture of death represented by Ralph Northam, represented by Andrew Cuomo up in both men who are representing the culture of death in New York and Virginia. In Iowa and in South Dakota, we have something different. Tell us what's different about Iowa and South Dakota in terms of who's leading the charge.
We have 2 women there who are leading the charge because they understand that when we hear a heartbeat inside of the mom, that means that there's life. Listen, puppy dogs have more of a right to life in the United States of America right now. So we are trying to get heartbeat bills passed, and they are being passed. One was just passed in Iowa, and so we're looking to North Dakota, I believe, to pass the next one, South Dakota. And this is, again, a huge win. If we can understand that at 10 weeks, which is about the time that we can hear a heartbeat inside of the mother, that we can stop abortions. That's probably going to save hundreds of thousands of lives every year. It's going to save thousands every day.
Absolutely. It's COL 1972. Check out the website. It's Carla Didasi. She's going around the country spreading the message. Hold up your book again, Carla.
So this is Julia Leon's How to Protect Life Wisely. It's also in Spanish. So that's actually in
Very
Spanish.
good. Thank you very much. And we are going to break ourselves now. We are at the end of the show, and I just really appreciate all you who've viewed the show today, who've listened to the show. We hope that it's been informative. We hope that it's been fun, and I hope that it's been entertaining. But most of all, we hope that it's been uplifting and given hope that we can, in fact, and are, in fact, winning the battle, and winning the battle on all fronts. Well, it doesn't always feel that way, but the truth is, the truth wins.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It
was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together. Together. We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty,
Liberty,
Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. And I want to give a shout out to the folks who listen to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder in Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Long Beach, California, and broadcast as part of the AUN television network in California. So Nasser, our first guest of the day is with us. Please make him feel welcome.
Well, thank you, Rick. We have Jim Antle, who's the editor of the American Conservative. He's a former senior writer there. He also was a managing editor of the Daily Caller, the editor of the Daily Caller News Foundation, associate editor of the American Spectator. He's also the author of Devouring Freedom, Can Big Government Ever Be Stopped? He's appeared on numerous shows, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, NPR. He's written for a wide variety of publications, including the Wall Street Journal, Politico, Los Angeles Times, Boston Globe, Daily Beast, Guardian, Spectator of London, National Review Online. He is also a senior advisor to Defense Priorities. Jim, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, we want to start off by talking about the article that you wrote, and it's called Trump Should Call Congress's Bluff on Our Endless Wars. And my question actually to begin with is, out of all the things that you were talking about, that at the State of the Union, he should respond to this, call their bluff. Out of all the things that people could have chosen to focus on, that the president should really make his number one, number two, number three priorities in the State of the Union, why did you want to sort of, put this front and center? I know you've obviously been at the epicenter of politics, in Washington and other places. So what was it about this that made you say, you know what, I really want President Trump to focus or at least talk about this issue?
Well, I think it's an issue where he's been isolated in Washington, but I think that there's a lot of bipartisan support for his position throughout the country. And I think the State of the Union is a really good opportunity for him to highlight that, for him to focus on that. I think obviously immigration and the wall are going to be major components of what the president has to say to the country. But I think the public is largely dug in either for or against him on that issue, on the wall, and the shutdown, and things related to that. I think that when it comes to what are we still doing in Afghanistan after all this time, and what do we intend to be doing in Syria, a war that Congress has never even authorized, the fact that there was such bipartisan hysteria in Washington while the public opinion throughout the rest of the country is starkly different and much more in line with President Trump, I think that's a really major disconnect. And I think Trump has an opportunity to highlight that fact and to show that he actually is standing with the majority of the public, while a bipartisan group of senators is trying to reprimand him for doing so.
You're right. And the thing that I found amazing, and maybe you can comment on this too, was that initially, the people, the alt-left media, the left-stream media, what I call the Democratic State Party controlled media, when you hear their montage, when he made that announcement ahead of ahead of his advisors, it was as if all these outlets initially wanted exactly the same thing that you're talking about. But as soon as he said he wanted it, it was like they turned on a dime. And they were all of a sudden, it was like they were all for the war.
Yeah, I think there were certain cable news networks where that was really obvious, where if Barack Obama had proposed the exact same thing, you would have seen rapturous coverage of this, and he might have gotten nominated for another Nobel Peace Prize, and everybody would have sang Kumbaya and said, this is great. But because President Trump wants to do it. It's irresponsible. It's precipitous. It's terrible. It's probably a gift to Vladimir Putin. And all of this other nonsense. I think that we have a chance right now. I think Trump standing before Congress to say, look, if you lawmakers want to have these wars, you have the constitutional power to vote to authorize them. We can argue that Afghanistan, the people we were congressionally authorized to fight in Afghanistan, we've already defeated, and that there has never been a vote on Syria. So if you think it's so terrible to pull out of Syria, if those 2,000 troops we have there are the dividing line between anarchy and freedom, then put your money where your mouth is and vote on it. And I'd like to see what the House and the Senate would say in response to the presidential declaration like that.
Absolutely. Now, you further write in your article, and this is something that I think a lot of people probably would not realize, is that Trump has some unlikely allies in these would-be 2020 Democratic presidential votes, as you write in your article. You said the one bright spot in that Senate vote was that Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, Kirsten Gillibrand, and Amy Klobuchar were all on the side of withdrawal. And you asked that question, how many ambitious Democrats will vote to give a Republican president a blank check for war as the election year approaches? I mean, he certainly can use this as a tool to sort of say, hey, look, this is bipartisan. Everybody wants bipartisanship. These are people on the other side of the aisle. They're with me.
I think that's absolutely right. There are a large number of Democrats in the country who agree with President Trump on this. And we've even seen a few of the 2020 presidential candidates, people who have every incentive to just be against anything Trump is for, have actually stuck to their guns on this. I think partly because, the peace wing of progressives has stayed consistent on this. Unfortunately, there's a much larger element, the Democratic Party, that's just purely partisan and wants to destroy anything that they see this administration as being for. But there have been some people who you might have expected to, for expedient purposes, to take the anti-Trump position, have not done so. And so I think that's another reason why it's an important issue for Trump to sort of highlight, because if he does, it does show that there are some areas where, in addition to there being bipartisan opposition to him, there is some bipartisan support for his position on this.
I think so too. Another question is, how much of this really, okay, Jim, is part of this overall, military, complex, and how much of it is really tied into, you're talking money. Huge amounts, just not thousands, just not millions, just not multi-millions. You're talking multi-billion dollars of contracts and graft and all that stuff that accompanies it. Is that the real reason why Mathis resigned? Because, the buddies that he was with, this is going to be sort of, cutting off some of the money, those kind of things?
It's definitely a huge factor. The fact of the matter is there is no concentrated constituency for getting out of wars. There are identifiable constituencies for getting into them. There are activists who benefit from it. There are defense contractors who benefit from it. There are government employees who benefit from it. There's money that it goes into it. The benefits of freedom and peace are sort of spread out. They're diffuse. And they go to everybody, but nobody gets them in quite the same way that the Pentagon, the defense industry, they directly benefit from these kinds of interventions. So they mobilize to keep the status quo going, or to keep further military interventions going in a way that the opponents of those interventions do not and cannot, because people tend to take their positions on strategic and ideological grounds when they're against something, but there's not the same immediate payoff to those people. So there's an organizational advantage and obviously some huge financial incentives for those who are on the side of staying in all of these places forever, indefinitely.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, we are speaking with James Antle. He's the editor for the American Conservative, and we're discussing his article, Trump Should Call Congress's Bluff on Our Endless Wars. Hey, Jim, we got to take a break. Could you hold on for just a few moments for us, please?
Sure.
And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, the doctor for the Republic, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. Avoid disappointment and future regret. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together. Together. We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Nasser Sheikh and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcast, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or CCRS Network. Please like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We're discussing an article written by James Annell, and it's Trump should call Congress's bluff on our endless wars. It's appearing on the American Conservative. Jim, thanks to you for holding through that break, and tell us a little bit about the American Conservative.
Well, the American Conservative was founded in 2002. It was a magazine that was challenging some of the policies of George W. Bush's administration. We didn't think that they represented the most authentic form of conservatism, where we are nationalist rather than globalist. We are skeptical of open-ended military interventions while supportive of a strong national defense for America. And we were founded largely in opposition to the invasion of Iraq and also a sort of open borders immigration policy that was really finding a foothold in the Republican Party under Bush. And now under Trump, we're starting to see a lot of pushback against those kinds of policies.
Jim, I guess about 17 or maybe even 18 years ago, I was at a wedding and I had a conversation with a young man who was debating with me whether it was smart for us to be invading places like Afghanistan and Iraq. And at that time, I was in favor of what we were doing, but I said to this young man, I hope it don't become another Vietnam. And what I meant by that is we spent years in Vietnam, spent trillions of dollars in Vietnam. We pulled out of Vietnam and the communists took over, and all we got for it was another memorial in Washington with 58,000 names on it, which to me represented 58,000 destroyed families. And I said to the young man, I hope we never see this again. And Jim, that's what I'm a little afraid of is going to happen here in places like Afghanistan and Iraq. The moment we pull out, the enemy is going to fill in that gap, and we're once again going to be spending a lot of blood and treasure for nothing. And I say this because I question, as you at the American Conservative question, these open-ended wars. It seems to me we shouldn't get in these wars if we don't get in them to win them. We won the Second World War because we destroyed Germany, we destroyed their economy, we destroyed their industrial base, we killed a large percentage of the population. We could say the same thing in Japan. So I am sitting here speaking with you and Nasser and saying, my gosh, this is like deja vu all over again. Jim, am I thinking too far outside the box?
Well, I think a big difference with Afghanistan is here's a place that never had an industrial base to begin with, never really had this fearsome military force, never really had much of a capacity to threaten us in the same way as Nazi Germany or the Soviet Union did. What it did have as being a failed state and a place that is largely ungoverned is it was a place from which Al-Qaeda and people ideologically sympathetic to various strains of radical Islam, it could be used as a base to plan attacks against us. And they were not receptive to our overtures to receive Osama bin Laden after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. I think we had to do what we initially went to Afghanistan to do. I don't think we could have stood by after the 9/11 attacks and have done nothing, and I don't think we could have simply allowed the Taliban to thumb their noses at us. But what we are trying to do in Afghanistan now, which is turn it into something even approximating a normal country with a functioning government, is simply not achievable. And we are going to stay there at great cost in blood and treasure, spend trillions of dollars, and we're never going to be in a position where we can say mission accomplished, because it is a mission that simply cannot be accomplished.
Well, Jim, I agree when you say it's not achievable. They'd never, ever, ever in history their country have ever had any kind of a stable relationship. So I totally agree with you there. Jim, also in your article, and you and Nasser were talking about the unlikely allies that Donald Trump has in this Senate vote. That was Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, Christian Gillibrand, and Amy Klobuchar. Gee, when those types of people are agreeing with Donald Trump, Jim, as a fellow conservative, I got to scratch my head a little bit and say, look out for the traps.
Well, you did have Rand Paul and Ted Cruz and Mike Lee voting with him, too, which is a pretty good group of constitutional conservatives. But one of the reasons that Donald Trump succeeded where Mitt Romney and John McCain failed was that he was able to reach a certain set of voters that were attracted to his populism, that were attracted to his America First nationalism. I think that there's a real risk that when you don't have a Hillary Clinton, if you don't have a Joe Biden, that you're going to have some of these Democrats be able to take some of that base because they're going to appropriate some of these issues, and they're going to tie it to a platform of full and total socialism, a platform that has no regard for constitutionally limited government, and a platform that also includes social and cultural radicalism. And that is an outcome I think all conservatives should want to avoid.
Jim, with that, I want to ask you about nation building, democracy building. Sure. Do you think we really need to get out of that business and stay out of that business forever?
I think there's just no evidence that we're any good at it, that it is something that is militarily achievable in the types of places where we found ourselves pursuing regime change. And I think a particular problem in the Middle East is, as bad as a lot of the governments are that we find ourselves going to war against, once you topple them, you end up frequently empowering the very strains of radical Islam that we go there in the first place to combat, because in many cases, the people and certainly some large ethnic groups in these countries have an even more antagonistic view towards the United States and Western values than do horrible regimes like Saddam Hussein's.
Right. You know, Jim, my thought was when they toppled Saddam Hussein, who was going to take leadership in that country? And I wondered if there wasn't a vacuum of leadership there, because let's face it, anybody who would have been any kind of a leader would have been perceived as a threat to Saddam Hussein. He would have gotten rid of them. So
right.
You'd have a bunch of people who wouldn't have a clue how to run a government successfully. So again, this idea of government building, and we can build democracies and we can build leaders, I don't think that has ever proven to be successful. Do you?
Not on any major scale. I mean, certainly when you had countries that had some degree of history of semi-normal government like Japan after World War II, you can count those as success stories. But countries like Iraq and like Libya and like Afghanistan that have no history of that kind of government, have no real civic culture that is broadly shared enough for people to be able to live together without some kind of tyranny or without permanent foreign military occupation. I think in those situations, in those scenarios, nation building is a fool's errand.
James Hanel, I want to thank you so much for being with us on the Conservative Commandos. Please tell our audience how they could follow your work, read your writings, and also how they can get a hold of the American Conservative.
We're at theamericanconservative.com. That's our website, updated every day. You can follow us on Twitter at AmconMag, or you can follow me at Jim Antle, JIMANTLE, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Jim, again, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Same to you.
And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network.
I'm noticing increasing similarities between the period leading to the 2020 election and that leading up to the 1972 election. History may be repeating itself. In 1968, the establishment Democratic candidate, the Hillary back then, was Hubert Humphrey. Like Hillary, he had run before and lost. Like Hillary, he was the mainstream centrist Democratic candidate. And like Hillary, he defeated a left-wing challenger, McCarthy, Kennedy, and ultimately McGovern. Of course, in this period, Hillary defeated Bernie Sanders. And the conclusion the left drew from that defeat in 1968 was that they would never again nominate a centrist establishment candidate, that they would lose with that, and that they needed someone who represented the true revolutionary left-wing agenda. So they took over the Democratic Party, and in 1972 changed all the rules and nominated George McGovern. And the media cheered them on. The media saw that they could win. It was feeding their frenzy, feeding their optimism, and saying that you could get Nixon, he wouldn't be that hard to beat. Now we have the media doing the same thing, cheering on the left, telling them that they can defeat Trump, giving them all the coverage they need, focusing on their socialist agenda, and being very positive about the alternatives. But in 1972, the left ran into a brick wall called the United States public. And when Nixon explained what McGovern was really for, it was a massacre in the election. Nixon carried 49 states. The only one he lost was Massachusetts and the District of Columbia. And in the popular vote, he got 61% and held Humphrey to 37%. I think that's what is, not quite by these numbers, but I think that's where the left is headed in 2020. Once they get out of that warm incubator of the media and the echo chamber that follows it, and they confront the reality of a citizenry that is not willing to move that far to the left and not willing to spend that kind of money, I believe they're going to hit a brick wall. And just as Nixon was not the key issue in 1972, but McGovern was, so in 2020, for all controversy, Trump will not be the key issue. The Democrats will be, the socialist agenda. And it's one they can't possibly get elected on. So I see tremendous similarities between 1972 and 2020.